Hello friends, welcome back in the channel of Clinical Care Insight. We started a series of lecture on the osteology, a branch of anatomy which deals with the study of bones, okay? And till now we covered so many topics about the bones, and we started the joints, and we discussed about the first joint, okay? That's called the VAF. That's the first joint, that's our fibrous joint we studied in our previous lectures. So today we are going to cover the two types of joint. The first one is called cartilaginous joint, okay, and second one is the synovial joint. If you remembered from the previous lecture that we divided the whole entire joints in the human body into the two parts. Okay, the two system of classification. The one is a histological, and their basis is on the basis of dominance of tissue, which type of connective tissue is involved. On that basis, we divided joints into the three types. Okay, the first one is fibrous joint, second one is cartilaginous joint, and third one is a synovial joint. And we also have another kind of, we can say, the classification that's called the functional classification. Okay. And the basis of functional classification of the joints is amount of movement permitted. Okay, amount of movement permitted. How much amount of movement is permitted? On that basis, we define the joints into the three types. Okay, the first category is called arthrosis. Okay, where there is a no movement, immovable joint. Okay, and then second one amphitheosis. Okay, and there is a last one. Okay, that's called the diarthrosis. Understood? And we also make one conclusion that both the category of classification scheme is correlatable. Understood? Till here, no any doubt, no any problem. So let's begin our today's class with the cartilaginous joint. Okay, with the cartilaginous joint. I hope you all are fine, well. Okay, so you have already the previous concept about cartilage, because we already defined in we can say in the previous starting lectures on the osteology that the bones and cartilage both are the skeletal tissue, first of all. Second thing, we defined that cartilage are relatively soft. Okay, it's a relatively soft as compared to the bones. Okay, it's relatively soft due to their matrix, chondrion matrix. Understood? Now, so this joint, if we have to correlate, okay, with the functional classification of joint, then it is a type of, we can say, joint which provide a slight movement. Okay, write down, which provide slight movement. And the category of classification functionally which working as a slight movement joint, okay, that is called as the amphitheosis. Write down, amphitheosis. Any doubt? No? Understanding? Yeah? Amphitheosis. Okay, amphitheosis, no problem. Now, the second thing you should know about this cartilaginous joint is that there are two types of cartilage, okay, which is involved in this joint. Bones, okay, bones is either joined with the another bone by the hyaline cartilage, okay, or either bone will join with the another bone with fibrous cartilage. Very good. Fibrous cartilage. Understanding? See, in the cartilaginous joint, okay, there are two types of cartilage which help in the joining of the bones, which help the joining of the bone. Okay, either one bone is connected with the another bone by the help of hyaline cartilage, understanding, or either it is by the fibrous cartilage. Understanding? No problem. Now, The another thing about the cartilaginous joint is that these joints are mainly avascular. You know it. Joints, these cartilages are basically avascular. Okay, they are avascular, but they need, you know, that for survival of the joints, or we can say the cells of the joints, or they need, okay, they need foods, okay, and their food is like the oxygen, nutrients, okay, and also they need the metabolic exchanges, okay. So for that there are underlying capillaries, the capillaries which supply the muscles, okay. Suppose this is one, we can say this is one your bone, okay, and this is the another bone, and both have the articular cartilage, where in the case of this cartilaginous joints it's either hyaline cartilage or either it's the fibrous cartilage, okay. And you know that the bones, okay, one bones, another bones is connected via the muscles also, okay, through the tendons. This is your tendon here, okay. Tendon provide the attachment with one bone to another bone, or we can say the one muscles to the bone. Now, and this is your muscles, okay, this is your muscle, and muscles is attached with the bone by the help of this, we can say the thick, one second, yes, okay, the muscles is attached with the bone by the help of tendons, okay, Now the point which we have to remember is that these articular cartilage, okay, which may be either the hyaline cartilage or it may be either the fibrous cartilage, okay, they are avascular, but they need the blood supply. So for their blood supply, where it comes from? It comes from the muscles. Those arteries which supply the muscle, okay, their capillaries is helping these, we can say the joint, the cartilaginous joint. Understanding? No problem. Now come to their innervation. So avascular, but they are, we can say the supplied by muscle capillaries. No problem. Understanding? Now, as far as their innervation is concerned, the nerve supply is concerned, they are mainly this articular cartilage. This articular cartilage is not innervated by any nerve. Okay, it's important to know that the articular cartilage, there is no nerve supply. But you know what, like for making the joints, okay, properly functional, okay, it need to be coordinated by the central nervous system, higher nervous system. So the nerves, there are, you can say the receptors, okay, like your nociceptor for the pain, okay, there are receptors present on this muscle. Apart from that, there is a sensory nerve innervation on this muscle, okay, sensory nerves, all these are present, okay. And there is one term I already told you about, the proprioception. These terms denote that the information which is coming from the joint, okay, muscles, ligament, and goes to the higher system, okay. So there are some sensory nerves, okay, which is basically supplying these muscles, okay, joint muscle of this cartilaginous joint. And the thing is that there is the nerve endings, okay, there is a nerve endings for the pain receptors. Apart from that, there is a mechanical receptors are also present, okay, and they all are goes by the sensory nerve, understood, to where the somatosensory we can say the cortex. You have the somatosensory cortex. Somatosensory cortex, okay. It is present in your parietal lobe, okay. You will study it in the neuroanatomy and neurophysiology that the somatosensory cortex is present in parietal lobe. And the next thing is that there is many others area also, but one of them is very important, that is your cerebellum. You know, like cerebellum is present in the posterior aspect of brainstem, and the function of the cerebellum is to control, okay, to control the movement, okay, and plan and execute a movement. You know, like you are able to move in a very narrower space. By moving your body, you are able to move, okay. These all things is coordinated, done by the cerebellum, because cerebellum have all the time all the information about how bones, joints, okay, they are oriented. Understandings, every information is present in the cerebellum. So these informations, they goes via sensory nerve first of all, and second is that there is a motor sensory cortex, okay, motor sensory cortex. So once the somatosensory cortex, they receive the information, that's called the proprioceptive information, it coordinate with the cerebellum, and it send the message for the motor sensory cortex, and motor sensory send the motor signals, okay, to move the joints, okay, or according to the, we can say, the requirement, the motor sensory cortex send the appropriate signal or message. It's about the innervation. It's about the innervation of cartilaginous joint. Write down innervation, okay. Generally the articular cartilage are, we can say, the not innervated by the any nerve, but there are underlying, you can say, the sensory nerve ending, sensory nerve endings. Clear? Understood? No problem. Let me summarize it once again. We are discussing the cartilaginous joint, and we've seen that the cartilaginous joints are slightly movable, okay, and the cartilaginous joint is, we can say, is correlatable with the amphiarthrosis, which is a functional kind of classification of joint. Next thing, we understand that the bones, one bones is attached with the another bone by the two types of cartilage. Either it can be, we can say, the joined by the hyaline cartilage, or either it can be joined by the fibrous cartilage. Then about their, we can say, the blood supply, generally the cartilage are avascular, okay, but for surviving they need the blood supply. So that for that blood supply is come from the muscles, okay, that come from the muscles capillaries. So they are basically supplied by the muscle capillaries, okay. Then the articular cartilage have no any nerve supply, okay, no any nerve supply, but for the proper coordination of the movement of the joint, there is a need for the control, okay, control and coordination. For that there is a sensory nerve endings which goes to the somatosensory cortex, okay, and there is a cerebellum which plan and execute the movement, coordinate with the motor sensory cortex. Understanding? So these all about the cartilaginous joint. Now once you know that the bones is either joined by the hyaline cartilage or it's either joined by the fibrous cartilage, it means the cartilaginous joints are divisible, okay, cartilaginous joints are the divisible. Understanding? Now the first classification of cartilaginous joint is called synchondroses, okay, synchondroses. It is synchondroses, okay. And the next one where the fibrous cartilage are involved, that's called the symphysis. That's called the symphysis. So now you have the two type of cartilaginous joint based on the type of cartilage involved. In the case of synchondroses, okay, there is the involvement of hyaline cartilage, okay, there is involvement of hyaline cartilage. Next thing is that in the symphysis there is involvement of the fibrous cartilage, there is involvement of the fibrous cartilage. So you should write down that in the case of synchondroses there is involvement of hyaline cartilage, there is involvement of hyaline cartilage. okay, and in the case of symphysis, okay, there is involvement of fibrous cartilage. Understanding? Now tell me the example. Tell me the example of synchondrosis. Okay, synchondrosis type of cartilage. Yeah. The example is the joint between the first rib of sternum. First rib and sternum. Okay, the first rib and sternum. See this. You know the sternum is a dagger-shaped bone. Okay. It is present in the mid-thoracic region. This is your sternum. Yeah. Okay, this is your sternum bone, a dagger-shaped bone, and you know that the first part of sternum is called as, yeah, it's a manubrium sterni. Manubrium sterni. Then the mid portion is called the body of sternum. Yeah, very good. And the last one, a notch-like projection, it is called as the Ziegfeld process. It's called the, yeah, it's called the Ziegfeld process of sternum. See, the your first rib, okay, first rib which is attached with the sternum, and posteriorly they are attached with the, yeah, very good, vertebral column, and this attachment is done by the cartilage, that's called the costal cartilage. Basically here is presence of costal cartilage. So the example of your synchondrosis type of cartilaginous joint is the first rib connection with the sternum. Very good, with the sternum. So this is your this is called costal cartilage. Okay, costal cartilage, and this is an example of synchondrosis. And this type of joint is called costo-sternal joint. Write down this type of joint. This joint is called costo-sternal joint. Okay, it is an example of synchondrosis. It is example of synchondrosis. Now, about the symphysis, you have the well-known example, the two example. The first one is your vertebral column. Okay, you know that there is a vertebra. Okay, one vertebra is placed under the another vertebra, and between the two vertebra there is a one thick, the fibrous pad is present, which is working like a shock absorber, and this is your symphysis. Okay, this is your example of the symphysis. Understanding? And in the case of symphysis, there is a bit, you can say, the slight movement. Okay, they provide the slight movement, but in the case of costal cartilage, there is no any significant, we can say, the movement. Understanding? So for the example of symphysis is your intervertebral discs. Write down the example of symphysis is your intervertebral discs. Intervertebral discs. Now, the another example is the pubic bone. We can say the pubic symphysis. Okay, see, there is a. Okay, I am drawing the short diagram, but in your notebook you should write in a better way. Like, see, this is the coccyx part. Okay, this is coccyx part, and there is a two ischium, you can say the ischium bone. Okay, and this is basically a hip bone, and here in between In between there is one, you can say the coccygeus part is present of the vertebra, and this is called the pubic symphysis. Okay, this is the mid portion where these two ischium bone are joining. This is called as the pubic symphysis. Okay, this is called as the pubic symphysis. Now, the significance of this pubic symphysis is during the childbirth. Okay, during the childbirth, what is happening? This pubic symphysis, they will, that they will provide bit, you can say the rotation. Okay, bit rotation, and they help in the dilation of the cervix. They help in the bit dilation of the cervix, so that the child will come out easily. Okay, that's the one point. If it is a hard, then it's very difficult for the parturition process, understanding. So that's about the one significance about the pubic symphysis. Okay, the another example you have about the symphysis is, as I told, it's the intervertebral disc, which is working as a shock absorber, provide the cushion effect. Okay, provide the cushion effect, understanding? No doubt. Shall we move ahead once again? Just conclude this. We are studying the cartilaginous joint. Okay, and we define the cartilaginous joint into the two types. The first one is called the synchondrosis. Okay, where the hyaline cartilage is involved, and another one is symphysis, where the fibrous cartilage is joined. Okay, the example in the synchondrosis is your first joint between the first rib joint with the sternum. Okay, and that joint is called the costoesternal joint. Okay, and the next is the symphysis. The example of symphysis is your intervertical disc and the pubic symphysis. Understanding? No problem. Shall we move ahead? Yeah. Okay. Now, you know that the joints health is important. Okay, joint health is important. So sometimes what happened, there is one, you already, I told you the structure of long bone. Yeah, can you recall it fast? The long bone consists of the two ends. Okay, that is called as, very good, that's the epiphysis. Okay, and the shaft of the bone is called as, diaphysis. Very good. Now, so see, this is I'm just roughly drawing it. This is your long bone. Okay, example of the long bone. And you know that in the long bone, in the children, there is the presence of growth plate. Okay, this is a growth plate, and it is also called as the epiphyseal plate. Okay, epiphyseal plate, and it is an example of your synchondrosis type of, you can say, the cartilaginous joint. Okay, it is also a temporary joint. It's relatively a temporary joint. And what is happening here in the some children, if it got damaged, okay, and if it is the early fusion, okay, due to the genetic involvement or environmental involvement, then that condition lead to the stunted growth. Okay, early fusion, write down, early fusion of growth plate, or you can say the epiphyseal plate. Epiphyseal plate leads to the stunted, you can say, growth of the bone. Okay, and there is, like the bone is the bone is like, it is not regular. Okay, it's become like irregular. Okay, so that's one clinical significance related with the synarthrosis type of joint, which is basically the hyaline cartilage joint. And this type of joint is basically a temporary. Okay, this is basically a temporary. Now, once we defined the joint, cartilaginous joint, let's move ahead. Okay, and describe about the another class of joint, that is called the synovial joint. The one thing about the synovial joint, why this joint is so famous. Okay, this joint is famous because for many reasons, okay, because of many reasons, okay, and some of you already know the reasons. So now we are discussing the synovial joint. Synovial joint. Yeah. Why they are famous? Yeah, tell me. Why synovial joint is considered as the famous joint? Why this is called as the famous joint? Yeah. The first thing is synovial joints provide a wide range of movement. Okay, it provides a wide range of movements. Understanding? The second reason is it is present, it is a like most prevalent joint in human body. It is a most prevalent joint. Understanding? It's the most prevalent joint. Next thing is that the unique feature about this joint is that they are carrying a fluid, okay, and not a fluid. Basically, they have the joint cavity. They have the joint cavity with fluid, or we can write down specifically the synovial fluid. Understanding? No problem. Now, if we talk about their vascular supply, the blood supply of synovial joint is, you know, like it's a rich blood supply. It have their own blood supply and the rich blood supply. Okay. If this joint is present, okay, in between the radius and this, you know, radius and your ulna, okay, then there will be a your radio-ulnar blood supply. You know, according to the presence of the joint, okay, according to the where the joint is present, okay, the synovial joint is present for which bones, okay, according to that there is a name of the blood supply. So for example, it's a radio-ulnar, you can say the radial artery. Understanding? Yeah, very good. Now about their innervation, okay, they have the both type of innervation. The autonomic nervous system also supply, okay, and there is also a sensory nerves. Sensory nerves. Understanding? And there is the one law regarding the synovial joint innervation, and that law is called the Halton's law. Halton's or Hamilton's. It's a Halton's law about the innervation. There is a Hilton's, it's a Hilton's law. Write down. It's a Hilton's law. This law states that the nerves which supply the muscle, okay, the nerves which supply the joint muscles, that same nerve branches also supply the joint. Let me repeat it once again. The Hilton's law states that nerves which is supplying to the particular muscles which is present on the joint, okay, so that nerve which is supplying the muscles, okay, they give the branches to also to the joints, Now see the structure of synovial joint first of all, then you will understand it in a better way. This is one bone, okay, this is a one bone, and this is another bone, okay. And you know that the bones have articular surface, okay, bones have the articular surface, okay, it's have the articular surface, and then bones carrying the articular capsule. I should change the color. Yeah. Okay. And there is, in the case of synovial joint, there is a synovial membrane. Okay. That color also need to change. Color. Yeah. And in between this synovial membrane, there is a synovial fluid. So this is basically a structure of synovial joint. Okay. Now write down the names. See, this is the, you can say, the articular capsule. Okay. This is articular cartilage. Okay. And this is your synovial membrane. Okay. And this is your synovial fluid. Now, the thing which you have to remember is that there is a bone, and one bone is attached with another bone. Okay. There is insertion of muscles. Okay. There is insertion of muscles by the help of tendons. Okay. This is tendon. Okay. And there are muscles, bruchas are also present in this area. See what is happening. The nerve branches. Okay. The nerve branches which is supplying these muscles, they also give the some of the nerve ending to the synovial fluid. Okay. To the synovial membrane, or articular membrane does not have any nerve supply. Remember always, in the case of both the cartilaginous joint as well as in the case of the synovial joint, there is no any nerve which is supplying this articular cartilage. Okay. They are only supplying to the synovial membrane. They are only supplying to the synovial membrane. That's what the Hilton's law is saying. Okay. Hilton's law is saying the nerve which is supplying the muscles, they are also supplying to the, that's also supplying to the synovial membranes. And the significance is that once the muscles fire, okay, the nerves which stimulate the muscles, okay, they also stimulate the joint. Okay. So if there will be any irritations in the joint, then there is a referred pain. Okay. There is a referral pain, or we can say the referred pain to the muscles. Okay. To the muscles, like in the case of osteoarthritis. Okay. We will have discuss after a few minutes. Okay. Understanding this now. Once you understand the structure and about the synovial joint, let's delve into their types. Okay. So before the types, I should define some of the clinical features related with the synovial joints. You know, the synovial fluids are what? It's a very viscous fluid. It's a viscous fluid which have very, you know, like it's also called as the non-Newtonian fluid. Non-Newtonian fluid. Okay. It's a highly viscous fluid and non-Newtonian fluid. The thing what is happening here, these, you can say, this fluid, okay, in this fluid there is sometimes what happen, inflammation, okay, or there will be a, you can say, the damages of these synovial membrane. Okay. Mostly in the case of the osteoarthritis, okay, and there is another disease called gout. Okay. And one more disease you should remember, that's called the rheumatoid arthritis. Basically, these are the type of arthritis. Understanding? And this is happening just because sometimes what happens, there is a damages of these membrane, okay? There will be a damages of these membrane, that is where your the articular cartilage, okay? That lead to the osteoarthritis. And sometimes what happen, our kidney, they are not, you can say, metabolizing the urea in our body, the uric acid. There is a poor metabolic, you can say, the coordination of the uric acid, okay, or there will be a hyperuremia, okay, in the blood, high concentration of uric acid, that lead to the accumulation of crystals, okay, accumulation of crystals in the joints, okay. And the most preferable part is your greater toe, okay, your greater toe, and that condition is called as the podagra. Write down. That condition is called as the podagra. Okay, so uric acid crystals, they are accumulated in this area and result into the conditions called the gout. Okay, called the gout. Understanding? Now, about the rheumatoid arthritis, what is happening? There will be an inflammation of this synovial membrane, okay, due to the own immune cell attack. Okay, due to the own immune cell attack. Sometimes our immune cells are security guard, and sometimes they are drunken too much, they are forget to recognize their own cell, okay, and they start destroying the cells, okay. That is called as the rheumatoid arthritis, okay. That is the rheumatoid arthritis. Understanding? So rheumatoid arthritis is a autoimmune type of arthritis. Write down. It's attacking by the own immune cell. It's a autoimmune arthritis, okay. Autoimmune arthritis, no problem. And about this synovial fluid, as I am saying, that they are the viscous fluid, okay, and there will be a no neutropenia fluid. This synovial membrane, they secrete this synovial fluid. First of all, this synovial fluid is secreted by the synovial membrane. Understanding? And the thing is, there is a one procedure, okay, by which we can take this synovial fluid via a syringe, okay, and you can say analyze, laboratory analysis. We are performing the laboratory analysis for discriminating between these three diseases, that it is either osteoarthritis or gout or rheumatoid arthritis. If there will be a presence of uric acid crystal, then it is a gout. If there will be a presence of inflammatory cell more than 500 WBC cells, okay, then this condition is called as the rheumatoid arthritis, whereas the osteoarthritis is basically a degeneration of this articular cartilage, okay. There will be a severe pain, okay, there will be a severe pain, and this condition by which we are taking the synovial fluid, this is called as the erythrocentesis. That is called as the erythrocentesis. Write down. This is called as the erythrocentesis, okay, erythrocentesis. So let me summarize it once again about the synovial joint. This synovial joint, we said it is a famous joint because of the two reasons. First of all, it provides a wide range of movement, okay. Second is it's the most prevalent joint in human body, okay. This is characterized by the joint cavity along with the synovial fluid, okay, and there is a rich blood supply. And about the nerve, about the innervations, okay, there is autonomic nervous supplies also, and there is one Hilton's law. That law says that the nerves which is supplying the muscles, they are also giving the nerve endings to the synovial membrane, okay. Then we seen the structure of the synovial, you can say the joint. The synovial joint consists of the articular capsule, articular cartilage, synovial membrane, and the synovial fluid. The synovial fluid is clinically important, okay, because these fluids help, their laboratory analysis help to discriminate between these three diseases, that's called the osteoarthritis, gout, and your rheumatoid arthritis. Understanding? And the procedure by which we are taking this fluid via the syringe is called as the erythrocentesis, and also called as the joint aspiration, okay, also called as the joint aspiration. and there are some medication, okay, which is also given to these synovial fluid, okay. And about the synovial fluid, it's a viscous colorless fluid. There is no any cells containing generally, okay, but in the case of rheumatoid arthritis there will be a inflammatory cells, okay. So once we understand the basic, we can say about the synovial joints, let's move ahead and discuss their type, okay, discuss their type. You know that how this synovial joints is embryologically present in the bone, how this joint is present. Yeah, see, there will, I'm just shortly telling you, the synovial joint, okay, this is not present in our, you can say, when the embryogenesis is starting, okay, there will be no any synovial joint. This is your only the long bone, okay, and there is a cells present, and this is called as the mesenchymal cells. So first what happened, due to the involvement of some of the factors, okay, which is secreted by your osteoclast, osteoblast, that factor is called as the BMP, bone morphogenetic, you can say bone morphogenetic proteins. These proteins, they make the mesenchymal cells. In the previous lecture of these joints, I told you that the bone development and joint development is the same, you can say, they're going simultaneously, understanding. So some of the mesenchymal cells, they, you know that they condense, and where they condense is decided by the one bone morphogenetic protein, that's called the BMP, okay. So this BMP, which is secreted by the osteocyte, okay, is direct the mesenchymal cell to condense, and then there will be a interzone formation, then there will be a cavitation, and then this joint will be formed, okay. Cavitation means like the cavity will form, okay, and this is called as the interzone. So it's about the embryological aspect of the synovial joint, okay. Now let's move ahead and discuss about the type of synovial joint. See, the type of synovial joint, as we understood, that is provide the wide range of movement. So according to the type, as I said, there are 6 type of synovial joint, okay, and the basis is the type of movement are given, okay. We can say the okay, the range of motion, okay, the range of motion, okay, based on the range of motion, how much they permitted the movement. On that basis, we are classifying the synovial joint into the 6 category. The first is called hinge joint. Second one is called the condyloid, or also called an ellipsoid joint, okay, and then third one is called the saddle joint. Fourth one is called the planar joint, okay. Fifth one is called the pivot joint, and then last we have the ball and socket joint, okay. So these are the 6 types of joint. Now each joint is unique because they provide the unique type of, you can say, the movement, okay, unique type of the movement of the joint. For the hinge joint, it is a uniaxial, means you can move in one axis, okay, in the one axis. The example is your knee joint. You know that you flexion and extension, that's in a one plane, okay. You can flexion and extension. This is a example of hinge joint, or it's a uniaxial. Write down, it's a uniaxial movement. Understanding, the example is your knee joint and interphalangeal joint, and elbow joint, okay. You also bend the knee and flex the knee. That is your basically the flexion and extension, that is done by the knee joint, elbow joint, and interphalangeal joint. Understanding? Now come to the condyloid joint or ellipsoid joint. They are a biaxial, okay, they are a biaxial. You can move in a biaxis. The example is in the 2 axis basically. The example is your metacarpopharyngeal. It's also called as cankles. Write down, it is also called as cankles, okay. So it's the example of condyloid joints. I'm not going in detail, I'm just saying you because these joints are easily unstable, okay. Then you have the sandal joint, okay. Example is your intercarpal joint, okay. This is also a biaxial joint, okay. Now then you have the planar joint, okay, it is a multi-axial joint, and the example is the intertarsal joint. Okay, multi-axial means you can rotate, you know, like there are movement, there are kind of movements you already know, that called flexion, okay, extension, then you have adduction and abduction. Okay, so all these kind of movement is collectively, if any joint or any organ is performing all these type of movement, and they are collectively, this movement is called as the circumduction. Okay, so these multi-axial joints, they are going to provide the circumtarsal. Intertarsal joint, you can move your, okay, you can move this joint fully. Okay, that's your circumduction, which is a multi-axial. Okay, and this joint is called the planar. Example, just remember, intertarsal joint. Okay, intertarsal joint. Now pivot joint. Pivot joint is a uniaxial joint, and example is your proximal radial ulnar joint. Okay, proximal radial ulnar joint. Then you have the ball and socket joint. The well-known example is the hip joint and shoulder joint. This is also a multi-axial because you can move your entire hand. Okay, these are movable, and the thing you should remember is that this is called shoulder dislocation. Okay, shoulder dislocation is associated with this ball and socket joint. Shoulder dislocation, understanding? And the hip joint is one of the most replaceable joint. Okay, hip replaceable, it's the most one of the replaceable joint. Replaceable joint. Arthroplasty. Yeah, arthroplasty is a one type of surgery by which the joints are replaced. Okay, by which the joints are replaced. Okay, and this is a last line of treatment. Okay, this is a last line of treatment. Okay, and this arthroplasty, by which the bones, we can say the joints are replaced. Okay, and the one of the most familiar replaceable joint is your hip joint, understanding? And basically in this arthroplasty, surgeon is inserted a kind of metals, okay, plastic or ceramic, you can say the ceramic substance, okay, which mimics as a joint, but remember, it's a last line of treatment. Before that, there are drugs for pain relieving, there are anti-swelling, you can say the NSDIs, the corticosteroid drugs, okay, which is helping to overcome the problem. And the inflammation, if the inflammation is happening in the synovial membrane, that condition is called synoviotitis. Okay, synoviotitis is the inflammation of the synovial membrane. Okay, so by this we finished our these two, you can say the joints, that's your cartilaginous joint and synovial joint, understanding? And by this also the osteology journey is finished. Okay, we will come with the new chapters, understand? Thank you with having me. Bye. Okay, and if you need any further clarification, okay, comment down on the lecture. If you need the PPT or notes, okay, I will provide you it. And thank you with having me. Bye. Have a nice day.